You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored.
Well, hello, Mr. Clay. Thank you so very much for giving me a call. Well, I'm fine. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I've never been to prison, but I have been to jail, and I know it's not a pleasant experience, and so I can definitely sympathize with you on that. And I really do think that there is that possibility that you don't even belong there, that you're an innocent person that was just railroaded into that situation. No, you don't. You've already been to trial and they've already convicted you, so you don't have to prove anything to me. I'm just curious that, after seeing this in the news and seeing those news magazines do stories on you, things just don't sit right with me, and I just want to talk with you and find out what's going on out here. There's a lot of people throughout the centuries who've been convicted and who are innocent. And it's more like, are you one of those? And I can't do a full-fledged investigation. I haven't investigated a crime in decades. But I can be a voice for you out here. I can talk to people, do some research, and keep your story out there. Hey, you know what? Anything I can do, because the only thing worse than locking up an innocent person is knowing that there is a brutal murderer out there, probably sitting in a rocking chair on a porch, just wallowing in his pride of getting away with murder, and never having anybody look for him because an innocent person's been locked away for the rest of his life. And that just doesn't sit right with me. The judicial system should lock up the guilty people, the people who are truly guilty of the crime. And it would really help to rehabilitate the person. Well, we'll say just get the person back into society if that person admits the guilt and accepts responsibility and is willing to learn and grow. And in your case, there's really no purpose for you being in there. You're not going to gain anything out of it. And I gotta look into this. I gotta be able to rest my conscious and wow, your situation is just amazing. It's just the evidence. Just either it was extremely circumstantial or it's just so obvious that even a criminal investigator would have to look at it and say, why would he use the victim's cell phone and knowing that it could be traced back to him? It just oh yeah, and I agree. And just right now I'm just coming in neutral. I figure if I can get a chance to talk with you and talk with some people.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Out here, we can come up with a plan of action. And, I'm hoping that we can get the guilty person locked up and at least rocking on that, sitting in that rocking chair. If he turns on the news and sees that this case has been reopened or the defendant is going up for appeals, that's going to make him a little nervous. And then, who knows, maybe he'll mess up.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, well, hopefully you'll be able to write me some letters, and we can continue our phone conversation. I really want to get into this. This just doesn't sit right with me. Okay, hey, Anything will help. Just look at me as sitting on the fence, and you're just going to have to turn me. Okay. All right. Sounds good. I appreciate the call. Now, this is the story of a man convicted of murder, and he claims that he is innocent. There have been books written, news magazines. There's been headlines in the news that pat the investigators on the back for doing a fine job of uncovering evidence that was very difficult to find. And what doesn't sit right with me is that the person who is in prison for murder, he's claiming that he is innocent. And so one of the things that I look for in situations like this is the evidence that was used against the person. You know, there's prosecutors out there that can do a very good job of persuading the jury. You know, I'm working now with a person who, from all accounts, looks like she committed murder in self-defense. She's a teenager, a young person that was faced against the man who was trying to control her, and she wound up killing him. And the prosecutor made it look like she killed him to rob him. And, you know, after talking with her and working with her over the years, it just doesn't seem like her style. That's just not her. And she doesn't deny that she murdered the person. It's just the circumstances leading up to it. And they made her look really bad by manipulating evidence. And of course, I have to keep an open mind whenever I run across cases like that. And in the case of William Clay, he is a relatively intelligent person, you know, and yeah, there is a possibility he could have committed this murder and he's just trying to con everybody. But there's also that possibility that he was set up. And, you know, if I'm going to go out and commit a murder, and I know there's a person who will be a prime suspect, and usually it's like somebody that's close to the victim, like a husband, wife, lover, boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, co-worker, someone who's been accused of stalking. You know, these people look at it and say, yeah, this person must have committed the murder because of the connection. And so if I see that, and I know that that's common knowledge, I may set it up so that the person takes the fall. You know, I could go in and commit the murder by violently stabbing the victim and leaving article of clothing or a cell phone, some kind of footprint or shoe print, you know, from the suspect's shoe size and shoe style, or maybe leave a glove or something, or just while making preparations for this murder, I could steal something from my victim's car or home and place it at the crime scene. You know, there's a lot of different things people could do, and then of course it would throw off the investigators. They'll go in there and like, oh my goodness, here's the cell phone, you know, and if it happens the next day, it's more like, you know, I didn't even have time to report it stolen, and it just, you know, you just kind of look like, wow, there's some good evidence here. And so a clever person could do that to set a person up. Also, a clever murderer could throw things out there and say, you think I'd be stupid enough to leave my ID card at the scene, or I visited the house before, of course my DNA is all over the place. There's a lot that could be in there. And so you'll have to, in order to find a person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, it has to be a preponderance of evidence, and it has to be to the point where you examine every possibility. If the defense attorney asks, is it a possibility that somebody else could have left this here? Is it a possibility that there could have been an ex-lover who was getting revenge? And then, of course, in the defense, the person would have to come up with a reason why that's not a possibility and it was considered. So there's a lot to look at in situations like this. And I want to open up a dialogue with this person. He's claiming he's innocent. And yes, it has happened many, many times in the past. And that's why I'm so against the death penalty, because if he gets sentenced to death and he's killed, and then 10 years technology advances so much that they say there's no way he could have done this other person did it. And then what? But if the person's still alive and they come back and let him out, maybe that can help a little bit. But right now, as part of my learning process and to build up my skills, I like to get into something like this. And like I told him, I'm sitting on the fence. I could say, yep, he's guilty and flip one way. Or I could say he's innocent and flip another way. Or I could just stay on the fence and say, I'm not personally seeing enough of this. I've been on many juries, and I've listened to both sides. And when we go back to the chamber and deliberate, we look at the evidence and we ask questions. And, I was involved in a high-profile case, and the evidence leaned toward, keeping them locked up. So, in this particular case, I've got to keep an open mind. I've got to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. And people figure that once a person's locked up, we need to forget about it. All is said and done. They're gone. And in some cases, when they get out, we still punish them for it. And that just needs to stop. Once a person walks outside of prison, all the punishment, all the blame should stop, because they got caught. They were locked up and they served their time and they paid the price. And if a person who is innocent is locked up for whatever reason, we need to at least give this person a chance to explain his side of the story, to sit down and just throw out some possibilities. And in many cases, that has helped to get the person released. Now, in the case of William Clay, he's based on about 3 different people I know. He is with the Innocence Project, who's beginning to look at it because of certain evidence that wasn't allowed in the trial, and some that was just kind of thrown out and some that was lost. So it gives him an opportunity to speak his mind and get that out there. If the Innocence Project works and is successful and gets him out, I would like him on my team, to help me work with people who are claiming their innocence. If they're sitting in prison, I did not do this, especially a violent crime. It means that there's somebody running around out there who did commit the crime. And we all should work toward putting a guilty person in prison. That's where they belong. And they should stay there until it's safe to let them back out. If it is. case that I did, it was not safe to let him back out. All right, so I've got my work cut out for me. I hope that you consider, things like the Innocence Project. Look into that. Kind of take a second look at people that you automatically condemn, because everybody else does. Not in many cases, not everybody is right. Sometimes one or two people are right. And we just need to keep an open mind on something like that. So, especially with the social media out there, anything could be said. Well, have yourself a wonderful day and go out and make wonderful and fantastic memories for tomorrow. I'm Joel Wilborn. Good day.